This presentation is a future presentation on the corporate conference sector shown by Eventbrite to attract over 13 million visitors annually, generating over £11 billion in spend. It will identify the current corporate social responsibility opportunities being taken within the sector and examine future CSR challenges the corporate conference industry will face. United Nations define corporate social responsibility as the overall contribution of businesses to sustainable development whilst improving the lives of the workforce, community and society. The presentation will focus on the continuous ethical commitment of the conference industry, focusing on Holcomb et al.'s CSR sections, environmental sustainability, marketplace, workforce, community and values. Between 2008 and 2018, conferences were solely a very significant user and creator of greenhouse gases. However, as a result of the 2018 Paris Convention of Climate Change, companies across 188 nations have united every 5 years to strengthen climate action to reduce their carbon footprint. To hit the long-term environmental and sustainability goals set in the Paris Convention, the corporate conference sector has made significant environmental changes. Responding to the plastic tax developed for the HM government 4-point plan aiming to reduce levels of plastic waste, conference managers across the globe have replaced plastic cups and straws with sustainable recyclable substitutes. This not only reduces the waste left from attendees, a challenge Manson noted that conferences were facing in 2018, but it also reduces the damaging environmental impact on our seas, decreasing the 8 million tonnes polluting our seas in 2017, identified by The Independent, to 2 million tonnes today. The influx of natural disasters between 2017 and 2032, highlighted by the World Economic Forum, resulted in conference companies investing more money into climate resilience rather than climate recovery to prevent facing further consequences of environmental disasters. Conference managers demanded greener conference buildings to host events. Therefore, following in the footsteps of the Vancouver Convention Centre, all conference centres by 2037 were vertical forests, hosting walls of over 100 square metres of green shrubbery. This architecture reduces smog as well as lowering the temperature around the building, reducing the need for air conditioning, all whilst releasing oxygen into the air, minimising the economical footprint of the conference industry. Despite the efforts to reduce their economical footprint, environmental sustainability challenges have arisen. With all conferences using paper cups and straws, we are facing issues of deforestation as National Geographic announced natural resources aren't restoring themselves as quickly as companies are supplying them. Furthermore, to maintain the upkeep of vertical forests requires specialist equipment and increase in workforce demand, costing the industry and increasing the carbon emissions produced from workforce transport. The conference industry has a corporate social responsibility to develop ethical and moral relationship with suppliers, customers and shareholders. Up until 2016, the Economist Intelligence Unit declared conference companies had decreased their focus on supply chain responsibility. This was due to conference attendees lacking interest in supply ethics, as they were more concerned with issues directly impacting them such as climate change. The importance of supply chain responsibility began to resurface after the 10-year framework for sustainable production was implemented in the United Nations 2030 agenda. This led to corporate conference organisations to use their power as consumers to drive ethical demand as they evaluate suppliers and hold them accountable for environmental and human rights issues. Despite the opportunities conference managers have to demand ethically supplied resources for conferences and evaluate their suppliers before purchasing, this evaluation process can be costly and time-consuming. Furthermore, in order to accurately evaluate suppliers to ensure they are conforming to expected standards, conference managers will need to travel to the supplier's location. If a supplier is located internationally, every evaluation trip will increase the carbon emissions created by air miles travelled. One of the most developed branches of corporate social responsibility for conferences is their workforce gender equality and opportunity. In 2017, the Me Too movement sparked conversation over truth and inequalities of female employees, and over the past 20 years there has been significant development of gender equality in the workforce. In the conference sector today, 60% of women make up the industry workforce, a 20% increase from the 40% identified by Player in 2013. In addition to this, holograms are also prevalent across the conference industry. First identified in a BBC article in 2018, there has been a rise in popularity for holographic conference calls. They minimise the use of transport to and from conference centres, thus decreasing everyone's carbon footprint. In addition to the environmental advantages, holograms also allow parents to work from home, increasing the amount of time they can spend with family and improving work-life balance. However, due to so much focus on closing the gender gap within the conference workforce, ethnic diversity has been overlooked, with the number of conference companies using AI technology increasing from 24% in 2018, reported by Deloitte, to 60% today. Diversity within workforce is decreasing as less job opportunities are available. Furthermore, although holographic conference calls are efficient and environmentally friendly, they reduce the workforce community and interrelations between staff. Over the past decade, the industry has had a social responsibility to address negative impacts of conferences on local communities left unaddressed from bias evaluation reports. To do so, the conference sector has used tangible benefits to support communities. Foley et al. Highlighted at all international conferences, the conference sector showcase local talent during conferences and give local companies the opportunity to network and trade with international counterparts. However, new impacts of the industry on local communities have risen, with concern increasing for the impact air miles are having on the environment. Whilst travelling to international conferences, attendees are combining conference trips with annual holidays, reducing the air miles travelled per annum. A Mintel report highlights Germany is leading this change, heading up the continent's conference tourism. However, this is impacting local communities as whole conference cities are becoming overcrowded with tourists. When implying CSR, Robinson et al. Highlighted how the conference industry has adapted from simply adopting Bentham's approach of considering only consequences of a company's actions on the wider environment to considering virtues, values, and responsible engagement with consumers. Since the beginning of the 21st century, Pine and Gilmore state consumers have increasingly begun to only entrust their futures with organisations who share their values. Therefore, companies must ensure they align their values with the values of their conference attendees. In direct relations to the conference industry, 2038, the sector must consider the growing consumer value for veganism, as according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, meat-free consumption worldwide is expected to double by 2050, resulting in conference managers sourcing vegan food to supply during conference lunches. By ensuring that shared attendee values are at the forefront of the conference industry agenda, challenges arise for managers such as requiring prior knowledge of consumer values. This can be time-consuming for a conference manager, and on large-scale conferences, it may be hard to define a common worldview. Furthermore, if organisations are hosting conferences for groups with extreme values, the conference organisation may not share these values, putting the organisation in a tricky moral position. Furthermore, by aligning company values with those of attendees could result in increased spend. For example, the growing trend of veganism has resulted in companies investing more money to source vegan food to supply at conferences. To produce ROI, conference managers must increase event costs, which may prevent attendees attending. However, by sharing consumer values, adds value to today's consumer, thus making the increased conference price worthwhile. Despite CSR advancements within corporate conference industry, challenges still prevail which need to be addressed. With consumers' interest of the morality and ethicality of a company's actions, Pine and Gilmore note how the conference sector can no longer adopt agnostic attitudes. Thus, with CSR expectations being higher than ever, and with the Globescan report highlighting more consumers claiming to have punished companies for their behaviour than rewarded them, it has become an inescapable business model for the conference industry worldwide.